Miller's job really as safe as the Board of Regents says it is, even after court records show he talked to a convicted sports agent? Did a blow to Khalil Tate's ego help heal his ankle? And why you should listen up if you want less government control. The 520 starts now. Welcome to the 520. I'm Steve Nunez and
I'm Mitchell Weary.
Welcome to another episode of the 520. Mitch serving once again as our special guest.
Nice to be back, especially after a big Arizona win this weekend.
Oh, but I called it.
I know
you did not call it.
I'm a little embarrassed. I almost got the score right. Just, well, the opposite way around.
I called it. And you know what's worse is last week you came with an Arizona shirt. This week you're trying to be who? Burt Reynolds, showing off
just trying to dress
your
and impress.
Chest hairs or something?
If you're gonna tempt me, I'm gonna come with the mustache next week.
Well, you kind of have to be going on. Hey, so Arizona, what a great upset, though.
There are times when it's okay to be wrong, and this is definitely one of them.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. Well, should Sean Miller fess up and do some explaining on why the heck he talked to a now convicted sports agent? ESPN claims court records show Miller made or received at least 13 phone calls from Christian Dawkins. He's one of 3 men convicted of fraud in the FBI's college basketball corruption trial. According to ESPN, evidentiary evidence on file also shows Dawkins had a detailed plan to pay Wildcat Raleigh Alkins and his family $50,000 last year. Miller was not caught on wiretap, but it is time for him to face the cameras, explain himself, or possibly face getting fired, period.
I completely disagree, and this is the American judicial system. There are records of phone calls, but there's no tape of conversations. There's no tape of what exactly was said.
Does it matter, though?
Absolutely it does, and
He's been caught.
I don't think Miller has to defend himself.
Evidentiary evidence, phone calls with an agent.
I think
it may not be against federal law, but it could be against NCAA violation, which means Arizona's in trouble.
I think answering to this just serves as a bigger distraction to the team. I like where Sean Miller's at as far as just staying focused on the game and the schedule ahead. It might be an excuse, but for the sake of the kids, leave this stuff out. I think he's doing the right thing.
For the sake of the kids, their future's on the line if there is an NCAA violation that comes down as a result of him having conversations with a known and now convicted sports agent. I'm not buying that the Arizona Board of Regents is not talking about firing Sean Miller right now. Remember last year, they had this conversation and they said the same thing. Oh, we're not looking at firing Sean Miller, but then all of a sudden, Sean Miller comes back, renegotiates his contract, and forfeits $1 million.
It's been a pretty rocky road.
It's going to be hard for you to defend him, though.
I hope it doesn't become hard to defend him. I love the guy.
I'm not too big of a fan of Sean Miller, but I'll let you have your last word. All right?
All right.
All right. Is one game a joke of a suspension for Arizona basketball player Ira Lee? Now, the sophomore forward got busted in August for super extreme DUI. He blew a BAC of, check this out, Mitchell, .215. That's nearly 3 times the legal limit of .8. Now, we're not saying kick him off the team, but a 1-game suspension for the season opener against Houston Baptist? That's not a punishment.
No, it's not at all. And the punishment needs to fit the crime. Everybody who's read about this kid probably knows about his personal situation, that he's been through a lot. But the fact of the matter is that Sean Miller needs to set an example dealing with everything that's going on right now. A 1-game suspension really is just proof that he's kind of letting things slide a little bit,
Correct.
I think, and it disappoints me.
And that's what gets me mad about Sean Miller. There's always seems to be a paper trail of cover-up.
Yep. There's, I say suspend him until conference play. It begins in January. Let the kid focus on the rest of the semester. I think you only have 3 teams from major conferences that we have to play before we even begin our conference schedule. I know there's Baylor and Alabama, and there's one more on there that I'm not thinking of. Let the kid sit down. Let him get his personal life together. If he can't have his head together off the court, how's he going to, be composed on the court?
And finally, we're agreeing on something. I agree with you 100% there. I will say this though: consequences have got to be shown within the basketball program for actions such as a super extreme DUI. It has to be more than 1 game. I'm not saying, again, kick him off the team, But one game is a joke. There should be a bigger punishment so that he does learn his lesson and get, more importantly, his life together outside of basketball.
Coaches and players alike all over the country need to start being accountable.
All right. What was a bigger factor in Arizona's shocking upset win over then 19th-ranked Oregon Ducks? Khalil Tate's healed ankle or bruised ego that healed after he was benched? Well, after sitting out a game and a half, Tate returned with a vengeance, leading the Wildcats to a 44-15 victory over the Ducks, who were favored by a touchdown. Tate tossed 3 touchdowns, completing 19 of 33 passes for 189 yards. He did have 1 interception, but you got to ask yourself, the benching may have given him a dose of humble pie and calmed down his ego a little bit.
This was a beautiful thing to watch, and I don't think it was a question of his ego. I think you had a kid who lacked confidence because he was injured all season. He wasn't able to do anything and live up to his physical skill set because of that ankle injury. I think giving him the rest, a little respite, and allowing him to come out and be effective, it was the right thing to do, and it makes me wish that they would have done it weeks ago, before they even, before we were 4-5.
Here's why I'm going to disagree with you, and I'm going to say it was his ego, because I heard from an insider that although Khalil Tate was limping off the field, it seemed like every series over the last 4 games prior to him getting benched, he wasn't treating his ankle injury as though he was seriously hurt. In other words, he wasn't showing up to the office to get treatment from the medical staff on the U of A football team, and that had everyone confused. And as a result, it created division. And you saw Sumlin didn't talk to Tate, Tate didn't talk to Sumlin, Noel Mazzoni didn't talk to Sumlin or Tate, and vice versa.
It seemed to be nothing but love on the sidelines on Saturday, though. I mean, all things were clicking. And
because he got a taste of humble pie. Remember, last year when Tate came in against Colorado and blew up with 327 yards on the ground, okay, he replaced Brandon Dawkins, who got injured, and Brandon Dawkins never saw the light of sun.
I think
Tate
ever
again, because Tate kept the starting job. I think Brett Rod came in and showed that the team rallied around him. Tate got a dose of humble pie and said, you know what? Now my ankle's healed. I got treatment, and I want to play like the Tate of old.
I don't think there's anything humbling about beating Oregon 44-15. I think this kid has all the leverage in the world, and I think Kevin Sumlin needs Khalil Tate more than Khalil Tate needs Kevin Sumlin right now.
I agree. All right, so let's move forward. It's a Friday night under the lights this week. Colorado, 5-3, 2-3 Pac-12, stampeding into town to take on the Wildcats, 4-5, 3-3 in Pac-12. Kickoff at Arizona Stadium is at 7:30. Fox Sports 1 will televise the game. I have a couple of keys. 1, Tate definitely has to pass underneath to his playmakers, Sean Brown and Sean Poindexter. Number 2, J.J. Taylor has to rush for another 100-yard game. And number 3, the defense has to hold Colorado on 3rd downs, just as they did Oregon, who only converted 3 of 16 on 3rd down. As a result, I have Arizona winning 45-34, baby.
And I like what you talked about on the defensive side of the ball. You really saw U of A bring the pressure on 3rd down. They were able to force those third and long situations. I got Arizona beating Colorado 34-14.
So you're jumping on the bandwagon.
I'm jumping on the bandwagon this week. Absolutely am. We're going to roll that momentum right into a bowl game, even if it is 6-6.
Hey, we need this win because then we still have 2 games left. I'm not so sure about Washington State at home, but we can definitely beat ASU to get that magic 6 wins.
It's nice having that late bye before that game, though.
I love that, yeah. Well, it's time now for Rapid Fire. I fire off a topic with a local sports connection. Mitchell fires back a rapid response or just rapidly passes it back to me. All right. What are the top takeaways learned from the Arizona basketball team's blowout victory over Western New Mexico, 95-44?
We are going to have to live and die by the 3 this year, and it makes me nervous as hell.
7 words. It's going to be a long season. Damn it.
Longer than that sentence?
8 words. Well, for the first time in program history, the Pima men's basketball team is ranked #1 in NJCAA preseason polls.
Soccer team's #3 right now, starting the season with the basketball #1. I love the representation that the Aztecs give in the community.
Remember, they finished as runner-ups in last year's championship game. Got to give them love, and Peabody extra love for putting Pima basketball on the map. All right, do you think this is really it for Tucson legendary high school football coach Jeff Skurran, who's calling it quits after racking up 306 career wins?
306 career wins is a hell of a milestone. Regardless of what he does, congratulations to you, Coach, but I wouldn't be surprised if he tied it up.
He's 71 years old. By all standards, he's still young. I don't think you can teach an old dog new tricks. I think he's coming back.
He's coming back.
All right. Are you surprised Arizona sophomore running back J.J. Taylor has quietly become one of the nation's top rushers with 1,029 yards on 167 carries with 6 touchdowns?
I mean, I'm not going to pretend like I called this, but the kid definitely had potential to put up numbers like this. And I think with the way that U of A is playing right now, it's not super surprising, but it is a little bit.
Well, pretend you called it.
I'm going to pretend that I called it. I totally called that from the beginning of the season.
How fitting was it for Pima's football team to go out in dramatic fashion in its final home game at Keno Stadium on a game-winning block field goal to beat number 9 Eastern Arizona College 28-26.
I love game-winning plays, especially when they involve special teams. This is the best way that this could have gone down for them.
Love it. God, what a way to go out. Congratulations, Pima. Too bad.
Absolutely, yeah.
Too bad they're ending.
I know, but hey, still got the basketball and soccer
Hopefully
program.
they find some money and regroup and refund that football program.
It would be great to see.
All right, Mitchell, let's jump right into Do We Care? As you know, we also tackle community issues, and with the November 6th general election just days away, the 520 wants to weigh in on how you should vote on propositions that could impact our community. First, Prop 125 adjusts the state retirement plans for corrections officers and elected officials. A yes vote will change annual benefit increases for these employees to a cost of living formula tied to inflation. A no vote would preserve the current system. Yes, no.
I'm voting yes on this. We're obligated to these pension plans, and so we might as well pursue the most effective plan that we can. This is not sustainable under the current plan. Vote yes on this.
I agree with you. I'm going to vote yes on this because when it comes to corrections officers and elected officials, part of the promise of their pay and benefit, which many times is a lot of free work and service, is the promise of a pension after retirement so that they can benefit and reap some of the rewards of all of their hard work, especially for corrections officers. So with the inflation, I'd rather see them get the money as opposed to it going back to the state coffers and the state lawmakers using that money and funneling it elsewhere.
And this is projected to save Arizona taxpayers quite a bit of money.
I agree. Prop 126 prevents the legislature or any local government from imposing a tax on service-based industries. It also prevents an increase of any existing service tax. A yes vote will prevent state and local governments from enacting any or new increased tax on services. A no vote will allow taxation. Thumbs up, down?
A reluctant thumbs down. I'm a part of the service industry. I have a DJing business, so this affects me. But to not be able to have taxes of any kind in the future is just foolish, and you have to leave that wiggle room open in the future.
I hate new taxes, but I am with you on this. I say no because I do not want people like you, independent contractors, to be punished for doing their work, period. All right, fair enough?
All right.
Okay. Well, a yes vote on Prop 127 would require energy utilities to source half of their power from renewable sources like wind and power by 2013. Yes vote, no vote?
Another reluctant no vote. This is like starting a business without a business plan if you've read this bill. There's nothing outlined on how we are going to do this over the next 12 years. The only way I'm voting yes is if Tom Steyer comes out himself and says he'll put $200 million into infrastructure. He's a billionaire. That's less than 20% of his net worth.
I say yes on 127 because, one, Arizona has plenty of sunlight, and I'd rather use that with solar energy as opposed to continuing to destroy our environment with fossil fuels.
I mean, that's your argument, though? I mean, every place has sunshine. I mean, how are we going to integrate the solar panels and the wind systems into our current infrastructure? And that's a question that it's not answered by this bill or this proposition.
Well, but you know what is answered by this bill? I'll tell you right now. Follow the money. When all of these energy companies are voting no, because they don't want these solar power solar power to replace the fossil fuel. That's because there's too much money to be lost.
Yeah. I want renewable energy resources, just not on Tom Steyer's terms.
All right. Prop 305 will expand empowerment scholarship accounts to be available to any students in Arizona as a result of a law passed last year. A yes vote will keep the law in place, while a no vote will repeal it.
This is such a hard no. Public education is one of the most sacred institutions in our country and in any country that embraces it. Once you start dishing off these, they're basically vouchers. Once you start dishing these off to private schools who aren't accountable for their curriculum, you're going to end up with a state full of kids that thinks the world is 6,000 years old and cite Atlas Shrugged as their favorite book. This is the death of intellectualism and scholarship if we let this pass.
No, it's not just the death of intellectualism. It's the death of public education. This bill is designed to kill public education. So what would it do? It would increase the cap on vouchers to 30,000. There are 1.1 million K-12 students in the state of Arizona. 30,000 having a choice to go to a private school is not going to do anything but take money away from public education. Right now, we're near the bottom in funding public education, we're near the bottom in teacher pay, and we're near the bottom in student achievement.
Steve, I'm 34 years old. We've been at the bottom since I was a little kid.
Education.
And we continue to take and take, and it's befuddling that people insist on not putting any resources towards education.
It's the agenda to kill public education, period. Well, a yes vote on Prop 306 would prohibit candidates from transferring public funds to a political party or organization while placing the Citizens Clean Elections Committee under the authority of a council appointed by the governor. A no vote would maintain the independence of the Elections Committee. Yes? No?
Big no. This looks real nice on the front end. Prohibiting candidates from transferring public funds to political party or organizations sounds great, but at what cost? Legislators act like there's some quid pro quo, like we deserve to return the favor. And that's basically what the back end of this bill is, assigning the governor authority over a council that is going to oversee the Free Elections Commission, which is autonomous right now. That needs to stay in control for the voters.
And I agree, no vote, because I do not want a commission or the governor to have a say on how clean elections money is going to be spent or not spent. Bottom line, and here's why too, because what'll happen is it'll close the ability for someone like you or I to run for office when we don't have the millions and millions of special interest groups backing us. So give the little guy a chance and keep the damn government out of the hands of the election system for
Absolutely
the little
agree.
people. All right, Prop 407 would provide a $225 million bond package aimed at improving and upgrading Tucson city parks. A yes vote would approve the bond. A no vote would not implement that tax.
I like
yes,
this.
No.
I like this. It works within the bond, it works within the existing bond capacity that's available. Vote yes on this. Parks are a valuable resource for you, for I, for kids. You have kids. Come on, man. Don't you love the parks?
Of course I love the parks, but do I need $225 million of my tax money to fix up every single park? I mean, no. We should not vote on this, not because we don't want our kids to play in a park. It's just that $225 million is a lot of money. The city should have a better plan on this. Instead of trying to fix every park, take a couple of parks within each side of town and make that the central point of refurbishing or revitalizing the park. And that way, every part of town has a central place to go, period.
All right.
We don't need every park fixed. Prop 408 would change the Tucson City Charter, moving elections from odd years to even years. A yes vote would move elections to even-numbered years. A no vote will leave the schedule as is.
I don't really care. I might just skip over this to make it to happy hour on time. I really don't care about this either way.
You don't care?
I don't.
Here's why I do. I say no. And the reason is because that just gives the state more control over what local communities are doing within the local community. I don't want the state to tell me when to have our elections. If that's what we choose to do, then that's what we should do, Period.
Well, I mean, we essentially are choosing, though. If we vote yes on this,
And we
we're
should
push
still
it.
have the right to do that.
The problem is that we push it back a year, and these guys have a little extra time in office, which, ugh.
That I agree with. Well, a yes vote for Prop 463 would pass a $430 million bond to fix roads. A yes vote would approve the bond and raise property taxes for county residents. A no vote would mean no tax increase. The county would then rely solely on existing funds.
It's nothing personal against the roads, because I love the parks too, but I'm voting a hard no on this. This is so ridiculous that the Board of Supervisors in Tucson has not been able to spend that money that has already been allocated for road fixtures. We don't need to spend any more money, burying any more money in this.
No, no, no.
And no again.
We do not need to spend that much money on fixing roads when they don't even have a plan. If we really want to fix the roads, then let's propose a $1.1 billion bond package that could fix every road in Tucson without letting politics get in the way of which road gets fixed first for which supervisor's district, et cetera, et cetera.
And a yes vote doesn't guarantee that your roads will be fixed.
Correct. And more importantly, again, they don't have a plan.
No.
So I don't trust them. Bring a plan, and then maybe we'll reconsider.
I agree with you. Absolutely.
All right. Time to move on now. Ready for this?
Let's do it.
All right. Well, did Pima County purposely try to suppress Hispanic voting? Pima County Recorder's Office confirmed more than 500 residents on the south side were sent early ballots with the TUSD governing board race left off the ballot. Once outed, voting officials sent those affected residents replacement ballots. Wow.
I mean, I like to think that this is just an honest mistake. I believe, that not all of the ballots were affected. I believe it was only 900 of, I think, the 2,300 voters that are in 500 of the 2,300 voters in that district. I hate to think that this was deliberately done.
Well, I don't hate to think that, because I believe that it was, in my honest, humble opinion. Why? Because in a citywide election, when the TUSD governing board is on everyone else's ballot on the east side, north side, west side, but then a pocket of residents on the south side, it's mysteriously off the ballot. How many different ballots did they print? That's ridiculous, especially who it hurts. It does hurt one candidate that everyone is against re-electing this year. I'm not going to say the name because we don't want to get into mentioning candidates.
We don't want to stir too much
but
up.
It does impact one particular candidate.
I
think it's BS. The city county recorder's office knows that it's BS.
I think it speaks more just to the inefficiency of the system as a whole.
There's no printing error on this, man. It was designed to suppress certain voters. All right, well, you've heard the phrase, oh, no, you didn't. Well, here at the 520, we're not afraid to tell it like it is with, oh, yes, we did. Well, a youth soccer team was forced to deal with unruly players and parents from opposing teams at tournaments held in Scottsdale the past few weeks. They were called beaners and told to go back to Mexico. When one of the players from Nogales tried to capture the conduct on cell phone video, he was harassed by a parent from the other team who subsequently called the police. When the police arrived, they threatened to ban the Nogales players from playing in Scottsdale ever again.
This is disgusting. And sadly, I remember playing 20 years ago when I was 14 for a club team in Prescott, Arizona, and played with a lot of Hispanic kids and really dealt with the same issues from players and parents alike when we would travel to matches. It's unacceptable. The deplorable example that parents are setting for their children, because these kids, they didn't learn these terms from anybody, they learned them from their parents. And the fact that they're on the field not focusing on the game, and it's just appalling. I'm just almost speechless about.
It is appalling. It's sickening. It's disturbing. It's all of the above. And to think that a soccer game turned to something that became racial is just, there are no words.
And it's sadly,
and I've experienced this. I've experienced, being called a beaner when we used to play basketball against teams that weren't on the south side. When we go up and play on the far northwest side against high schools over there, we'd get that.
Yeah, and FIFA is a garbage organization, but I love the way you've seen them combat hatred and racism over the years in major professional soccer levels, in the in the European Premier League, World Cup, and all those levels. What makes me the most sad about this whole scenario is that we've taken a sport that requires just a ball and a pitch, and we've turned it into a game for affluent kids only. These kids, bless their hearts, they can go back to Mexico. You know where else they're also going is the World Cup again, and we're not.
Yeah, Mexico, I was rooting for them, but
heck yeah,
in all honesty,
I was too.
I think more people need to capture that on camera, expose this type of behavior so people can actually, it's like a reflection, looking in the mirror and say, wow, I look really stupid and like an idiot and behaving like that towards a child.
It's one of the most disgusting parts of it too, the way the kid was just villainized for trying to have proof.
Yeah, a child.
A child.
Wow. Well, before we go, take your pick on the 520's video clip of the week. We haven't had a lot to brag about when it comes to Arizona football, but J.J. Taylor's flip into the end zone 20 years later, reminiscent of then quarterback Ortiz Jenkins' leap by the leg in Arizona's upset win over Washington, again, 20 years ago. And here's a safety's dream. Tristan Cooper's hit on Oregon's Dylan Mitchell. Oh my goodness, laying him flat on his whoop-whoop.
I could watch this highlight reel from this game over and over again. Just a few of the special moments that you saw from this weekend. But darn it if it wasn't a really special homecoming, and darn it if those kids weren't fabulous to watch.
Arizona played awesome.
Offense, defense, special teams, everybody showed up this weekend. Can I? I want to
hug the scarf with care.
I want to
hug the scarf with care.
I want to.
Thank you. All right.
Right there.
Well, that does it for this week's 520. Our goal is to tell it like it is because it's all about giving voice to opinions whether you agree or not. Be sure to follow the 520 on Facebook and Twitter at the 520 Tucson. And if you have a topic you want us to cover, send us an email at the 520@KVOA.com. For
Mitchell Weary,
I'm Steve Nunez. Go Wildcats. Yeah, baby.